Hello, my name is Clr Sgt Hawkins, and today we'll be looking at grid references and estimating distances on maps. Start off, we'll look at the basics of grid references. Grid references provide the basis of all map reading. There isn't much you can do without understanding the principles of grid references and how you can identify a location using them. The grid system is a rectangular system of intersecting vertical and horizontal blue lines overlaid onto a map, as you can see on the right there. One of these lines runs from north to south and are called eastings, and the other set of lines running from east to west are called northings. Each line has got a number attached to it, either on the bottom or on the left, as you can see. On the bottom you've got 67 all the way to 72 and 98 all the way to 03. Now you may be wondering why the lines running from north to south are called eastings and the lines running from east to west are called northings. This is because if we take a look at the eastings at the bottom there, you can see it goes from 67 to 72. It's increasing as you go from west to east, whereas the northings increasing as you go from south to north. Each box in the grid has a side measuring 1 kilometre and a diagonal of 1.5 kilometres. We call these boxes grid squares. A point to note is that even though the size of each box may change, all the boxes always have a 1 kilometre side and a diagonal of 1.5 kilometres. When a location is identified with the grid system, it is called a grid reference. When identifying a grid reference, always read from the eastings first and then the northings. A good way of remembering this is along the corridor and up the stairs. So the most basic form of grid reference is the 4-figure grid reference. If you see GR anywhere through this lesson, that basically stands for grid reference. A 4-figure reference is used to identify a space of 1,000 meters. There are 4 digits in it, hence 4-figure, 2 from the eastings and 2 from the northings. To identify a 4-figure grid reference, read from the lines in the bottom left of the box, eastings first, followed by the northings. So let's look at an example. We're going to try and find the 4-figure grid reference of the place of worship in Little Plumpton. You can see it there. First, go to the bottom left of the square and identify the number for both the eastings and northings. So looking at the bottom left, if we look at the line going vertically and follow it down, it goes to 69, and the one going horizontally leads to 01, as you can see. We'll then put these numbers, eastings in front of northings, and then you have your grid reference. In this case, it's 6901. Remember, always along the corridor and up the stairs, not the other way around. So we're going to have a little practice at this. Try and find the 4-figure grid reference for the village hall on this map, and then try and find what is in the grid reference of 6902. Pause the video, work it out, and come back once you have the answers. Okay, so that should be enough time, and let's look at the first question. So the grid reference for Village Hall, as we can see, goes to the bottom left of the box, and we can see that the eastings is 70 if we follow it down, and the northings is 01. Put the eastings from the northings, and then you have 7001. Now let's look at the second one. So this time we have to work in reverse. We look on the bottoms first and find 69. If we follow that line up, it means the place we're looking for is always going to be on the right of 69. We can then narrow us down with the northings, find 02 on the y-axis and follow it and find where the lines intersect. To the top right of this should be the grid reference you're looking for. So the answer to the second would be Plumpton Dairy Farm. While 4-figure grid references are useful for highlighting a general area or a town, it's not so good for identifying individual buildings, streets, landmarks or meeting places. So for this we're going to use 6-figure grid references. A 6-figure grid reference is used to identify a space of 100 meters. To do this, we must break a grid square up into 100 parts with 10 squares along each axis, as you can see in the diagram on the right. Obviously, don't actually draw this on your map, as you'll obscure features you may need later in navigation. Instead, just imagine on your map or use a specified tool. In this box, find the points you want to identify and count how many smaller squares it is along each axis. This will give you your 6-figure reference. Add these numbers at the end of your eastings and northings respectively. So let's take an example. The box here we can see here in the center of the diagram is 6233. We're going to break this up into 100 imaginary squares and find the location on there. So if you see the dark blue square is the square we want to find the six-figure grid reference for. So we go east things first along the bottom. We can see the number is 5, as that is the number if you follow it down the bottom left. And for the northings, it is 3. So let's put this into our six-figure reference. So 6233 becomes 625333. Let's have a bit of practice at this. So you can see the maps come up again, and we're going to have a bit of practice. So please identify the six-figure position of the place of worship in Little Plumpton. Identify the six-figure position of Grove Farm, and what is that grid reference 694016. Again with the four figurines, pause the video and come back once you have the answers. So as you can see, the answers for the first one is 696018. So we find the four figurines first. We already did that in the previous, so we know it's 6901. Then we break the square up into 100 imaginary squares, 10 along each axis. We count along the bottom and find that it's roughly 6 squares across on the eastings and 8 squares on the northings. We then put these behind the eastings and northings respectively, and it gives us the answer of 696018. And the second one, the position of Grove Farm, again we find the four figurines and then break it up. We then put how many boxes along it is behind the eastings and northings, giving us 708999. Remember, because you're imagining it, everyone's grid is going to be maybe slightly different. It doesn't matter too much, since if you really want to be precise, you would use a specific tool. Generally, if something's within 100 meters, you should be able to find it if you look hard enough. And the answer to what's at 694016 is the pond at the T-junction in Little Plumpton. So the specific tool I mentioned earlier is called the rumour or roma. This is the map tool most commonly found on the lightweight compass, the compass which you use, and has a set of scales on the edge, decreasing the scale moving inwards. An example on the compass you can see at the bottom there, but it also comes in other forms like an actual proper design made rumour, as you can see on the square on the right. As you can see, the scales, the one on the outsides, going from 0 to 10 along each axis and decreasing the scale as it goes inwards. To use it, first you must find the scale which is appropriate for your map. The easiest way to do this is put the edge of the roma in the top right corner of your grid square. If it is the scale for the map, 10 should hit where the lines intersect at the top left and bottom right of your grid square. To find the position, first you must find something which you want to identify on the map. As you can see on an example, we've used the place of worship. Place the origin of the correct scale over the point you wish to identify the grid reference of. So you can see the point or origin is over the place we want to identify, and the rumour has now got a scale over the eastings and northings. Where the northings and eastings cross the numbers on the roma, whatever you want to call it, is the extra digits in the six-figure reference. So in our example, we can see that it's crossed the eastings at 6 and it's crossed the northings at 8. This means that place is at 696018. So moving on, we're now going to look at estimating distances. So estimating distances is the ability to estimate a distance on a map. It is crucial to any map reading, as it allows you to estimate your location and helps you predict a journey's time. It can be done in 3 different ways, which I will cover in this video. Firstly, estimating using grid references. Secondly, estimating point to point. And thirdly, estimating along a route. So firstly, we're going to look at estimating distances using grid reference. The key thing to remember here is each grid square is 1 kilometre along each side and is 1.5 kilometres diagonally. We can use this to roughly gauge how far it is in a straight line from one point to another. In this example, we're going to work out roughly how far it is from the place of worship to Grove Farm. The place of worship is almost in the centre of the grid square, so from it to the bottom right corner is 1.5 kilometers, the diagonal length of the grid square. But however, it's in the centre, so not the full diagonal length, so we need to divide it by 2, which is 0.75 kilometers. We're now at the point 700010. We can then go from that point to the point 710000, which is close to Grove Farm. It's another diagonal, so it's another 1.5 kilometers. From there, we can estimate it would be around another 200 meters to Grove Farm, based on estimation alone. Therefore, the distance from the place of worship to Grove Farm is roughly 2.5 kilometers. Obviously, this is a very inaccurate way of estimating distance, but it can be quick. Mainly, it's used for just gauging a quick estimation. For instance, you want to know when you're planning your route, how far it is from one town to the next. And this can be done as complicated or as simple as you like. You can get very precise, or you can do it as roughly as you like. If you wanted, you could just go straight down 1 kilometer, 1 kilometer, and 1 kilometer to the right, and say that is roughly 3 kilometers to Grove Farm. Moving on, the second one is estimating point to point. This is a more accurate and quick way of estimating with grid references. Measuring a distance from point to point is a simpler version of using grid squares. At the bottom of the map, there should be a scale. There should be a series of lines with miles and kilometers on, and scales ranging from 0 all the way to around 100 kilometers or miles. We can use this to estimate the distance. First, you need a piece of paper or any other straight object and place it along the line you wish to measure. So using the same example with the place of worship and Grove Farm. There we go. Then mark out the start and end of the distance on the piece of paper. So we marked it there, the place of worship and on Grove Farm. There you can see an example of the scales I was talking about. Then find the scales on your map and then have it in line with kilometers and miles on. Place your marked paper on the scale with the first mark over 0 and check to see where the second mark is on the scale. The distance measured on the scale is the distance between those 2 points as the crow flies. In the absence of a scale, for whatever reason, you can use the northings and eastings and grid squares, since they're a kilometre long, to see how many it crosses. So see, put it up there. Obviously this is not a scale for the map we're using, as it's clearly not 100-ish kilometres to Grove Farm. So the third and most accurate way of estimating distances is estimating along a route. This technique is very similar to estimating from point to point, except this is more accurate. And we can see how long it would take to follow a route instead of a straight line. We'll start making our start point on a piece of paper. However, instead of going straight to the end point, we'll follow a route to get there. This would have usually been planned before the estimation begins. Line up the paper along the road where you wish to get a curve, mark it and turn the paper accordingly. So for this example, we're going to move from Grove Farm to the place of worship. We'll line our paper up following the road which goes to the southwest from Grove Farm and mark it along there. When it gets to the slight turn as it leads on to Grove Road, we'll mark it, turn the paper 90 degrees and continue along the road. Keep doing it, keep marking when it comes to corners until we get to the place we want to get to. Finally, get your marked paper and put it against the scales. Check to see the start and end mark, and then you should get a more accurate estimation of how far it is following a route from position A to position B. A variation of this would be using the lanyard on your compass to measure the route. You use the same method with paper, but instead of marking it, just lay it across the route, curving it to fit the bends in roads or paths. Do the same thing with the paper as on the scales, but the length of rope instead. So, testing yourself. In this lesson, we've learned how to estimate distances and use grid reference. So to test yourself, look around your house and try and find a map. If you can't do that, go online and try and find another snippet of one. On that map, find a route from one point to another. Find the 6 figurants of the start and end point on your route, and then estimate the distance between those 2 points. If you want to challenge yourself further, look for notable landmarks around the route and mark them down 6 figurants on some sort of route card. If you have a local map, you can then try following the route if you want, as it will provide a good basis for further navigation practice in further lessons. So in this lesson we have learnt what northings and eastings are, what a grid reference is, what are 4-figure grid references and what are 6-figure references and how to use them. So thank you for watching, hopefully you learned something this lesson. Please sure to take a look at the other cadet lesson videos on this channel. Goodbye.